Looking at the Scan and Cut windows, select Pattern, then select Save Data, My File stored on USB, and scroll down to find the cutting file that you want. I want the box file, and then I go to the window here in the top left hand corner, which allows me, I want to delete some pieces of this, so you can see the red line at the bottom selected, and then I press delete and then OK. Then the next mat is selected, I press delete and OK, and I keep going through all these pieces at the bottom, pressing delete and OK till I've got rid of them all. I don't want to cut those at this moment in time, that's why I'm taking them off. All I want to cut at the moment is the box. So we've got that here now, and we press OK. You can see it here on the mat. I've already got my paper loaded onto the mat, and now I'm loading it into the Scan and Cut. I'm trying to do it one-handed, so it fell out again. I'll try again. Here we go, this time it's loaded. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is cut it. So we press the OK file, then we press Cut, and then we press the Start button. And here we go, the blade starts cutting out the design. It doesn't really take very long to do. It's quite a straightforward file to cut. You'll notice that I've got my paper stuck on with masking tape. It's because my mat isn't that sticky anymore and the paper flicks off. Anyway, so I'm pulling out the cut design. Just showing you where it's cut. Now I've loaded the paper that I'm going to use to cut out the mats for the side of the book. So again, go to Pattern and then Save Data, USB, and then we find the file again. Press OK. Go to the corner button, and we're going to delete all the other pieces except for the two mats this time. So we're deleting the box, the little stick pieces that were designed for putting the flowers on. I don't actually use those. And then we're left with the two mats. So now we press OK. And we select the first one. And we're going to set the number that we want. So we want 2 of those, and 3 of those, and 1 of the larger ones. Now I'm going to scan in the paper so I can see where my paper is positioned onto the mat, so that I can then move these 4 boxes around and make sure that I get them actually inside where the design paper is. So here I'm pulling them up now and positioning them where I want them to be on the paper for cutting. It's 3 smaller ones, and then I'm going to put the larger one underneath. It's a really good feature because you can use small scraps of paper and you can see exactly where they are on your mat, and then cut from them, so there's no waste. Okay, now they're in place, I press the OK button and make sure that I change the setting on my blade. This is thinner paper, and before I was cutting card, so I'm going to turn it down to 3. You must always remember to do that, so you don't want to cut a hole in your paper, in your mat. I press cut and then the start button, and the machine starts to cut the mats out. I never tire of watching this piece and listening to the funny noise that the machine makes. Obviously you can't hear it because it's a voiceover. Okay, then I eject the mat and I can peel off my papers, ready for mounting onto the sides of the box. Now we're ready to start putting it together, and the first thing we're going to do is make the flowers. I've got a foam block here and some embossing tools. One is a thin one and then I've got a fatter one down there. I just start by drawing 4 or 5 lines down each part of the petal, and I'm going to do that on all the flowers. Then I turn it over onto the other side, take the fatter point and then just roll around in the middle to give the flower some shape and dimension. And then the smaller ones will just rub it in the middle. Drop of glue in the centre and hold the middle in place. I've already done most of them, so these are the last 2, just to show you how it's done. Didn't want to bore you by making you watch me construct all of them. That just puts some ridges on the other side of the petal and it just makes it look more like a real flower. I've done half in yellow and with white centres and half in white with yellow centres. And just to finish them off, in the centre of each one, in the yellow centres, I put just clear diamond rhinestones, and in the white flowers, yellow flowers with the white centres, I put a dark gold rhinestone in there. So I'm starting off doing all the yellow ones first. It doesn't really take that long to do if you get a bit of a production line going. I find it quite relaxing. got one of those sticky pencils. I usually find if you wet the end it makes it stickier, or as I do, I lick it. Some of you might find that quite disgusting, but it's my pencil and nobody else is going to be licking it but me, so if I want to lick it, that's what I'm going to do. Anything for an easy life. Once that was finished, I took some quite thick acetate that I had left over from packaging and started to cut thin strips. These are for the stems. I just prefer to do it with the acetate rather than use the twig-like cuts that come with the box pattern, because they don't show so much, and once you've put the leaves and everything in, it just makes it look tidier, I think. But obviously, if you prefer to use the pieces that come with the pattern, that's your prerogative. Turn each flower over, add a nice blob of PVA glue on each one, and then just lay the acetate onto it and let them stand for a while until they're fully stuck. I've die cut the leaves with using a die from Cherry Lynn and some butterflies from a Diamond Dies die, and now we're going to start constructing the base box and putting it all together. This needs to be scored at 2.5, just carry on down from where the other paper was. 5, seven and a half. You might just have to move it over just a little tiny bit to make it match up with the cuts. 7.5, and then 10. So this measurement across the top would, if you were making it yourself, would be 10.5 inches, and then score it 1/2 inch at the end, and then just cut that bit off into a tab. And the measurement along the side is 5.5 inches. So you would need to cut then an oblong 5.5 inches by 10.5 inches, and then score at 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. Cut this last piece into a tag, and then you need to actually cut down to the 2.5 inch mark. Needs to be sliced. So it's fairly straightforward, really. And then you need to score again across these parts from the bottom of the cut, but you don't want to score this last panel. So it looks like it's coming in at 3 inches across here, and then stop at that cut. this one stays up, these ones will be folded down, the tab will be folded in, and then all of these sections will be folded. So I went out of frame there. You can do them all with your bone folder to get the cleaner score. It's easier as well if this will come around like this, and then this one will be, all of these will be folded down, and this one will be up in the air still. And it's easier if we mat this panel before we join the rest of the box together. So the mat for that one is the slightly longer one of the four. So I should just some glue on this with my ATG gun. Make sure it's the right way round. And then mat that so that it's got the same amount of border around each edge. The beauty of that ATG gun is it just rolls off if you've got a bit of glue where you don't want it. Okay, then we're going to put some glue on this flap. Fold it back, and then that will line up along there. And then you've got your box. The next thing is to add the mat onto the front of each piece. So again, I don't know which side I like best. I like the ones with more flowers on. So, yeah. The leaves pointing down. The last lot of pieces we needed to cut from the ScanNcut file were 3 oblong pieces like these. On the file there's actually only 2, but I prefer to do 3, so I added an extra one. And we need to score these at 1/2 inch on each end. So get my scoring board in. Score. There's also some Y-shaped pieces come as part of the file as well, but I prefer to use the acetate strips, but you can always cut those pieces and attach your flowers to those if you prefer. And then these pieces you'll bend one way and one the other way. And then they will be glued into your box. You need to put some adhesive on each of the flaps, and then these will need to be glued into your box, evenly spaced, and these bars are what we're going to attach the flowers to. Okay, once the slats are in place, when your card's completed, it will fold like this, or like this, and then it will fit into the envelope, and then it just pops out again into. That's the next thing we've got to do, is start gluing the flowers and the leaves into place. And it's a bit fiddly to do, so I'm going to do it off camera. You know, you've got the gist of it anyway, so when you've got your own flowers you can just glue them in how you like it. And this butterfly, glue the top part onto the bottom part. This one is from Diamond Dyes, it's one of my favourite. I use this one all the time, I love it. So just glue that into the centre, and then once it's done you can lift these wings up a bit. I've done it in the same yellow as the bottom of the box, and because these flowers have got a bit of pink on them, I've die cut the rest in some pink glitter paper. So here we have the box with all the flowers in place. I've die cut a happy birthday sentiment, which was a die that was a magazine freebie, and I've stuck that onto some of the yellow card because the pattern underneath was quite bold and it was shining, through the letters, and it was a bit distracting. I also die cut another little pink flower from the same glitter paper as I'd used for the butterfly, and I added a rhinestone onto that. I've attached the butterfly to an acetate strip in the same way as the flowers, and that's also just tucked in and glued onto one of the slats inside. All the flowers I went round the edges with some gold stickles. It's the diamond one, which is sort of clear with gold glitter inside. And then I've randomly spaced the leaves throughout, and I'm just showing you here how it folds up, and it will fit comfortably into a 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch square envelope. Anyway, I hope you like it. I know that everybody that I've sent one to so far has really loved it. It's easy to make, although the preparation is a bit fiddly, but it's worth it in the end, and I think it makes a really nice, stunning card for anybody to receive. So I hope you'll make some and show us your creations too. Thanks for watching. Bye now.